All right, well, welcome in, college hockey fans. This is the epitome of college hockey because I've got the executive director of College Hockey Inc. with me, Mike Snee. Mike, first of all, welcome in.
Thanks, Scott. Happy to be here.
Welcome to the Rockies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's well, welcome to the defending champions of college hockey here at DU. I guess what do they call it? They gave Denver a name yesterday between the Avalanche, the Pioneers, and their high school team.
What they call it? Capital of Hockey.
Capital of Hockey.
Something like that for 2022. Yeah. They have the Denver East
yes,
Angels
the
won
the champions.
Yeah, well, high school champions. Then, of course, the Pioneers win the national championship, NCAA, and the Avalanche win the Stanley Cup. And I believe there's a fourth team in there somewhere, but we'll get to that.
Well, I'm excited to be in the hockey capital city or whatever
2022.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dig into this. You guys are the hosts. You guys are the guys that put this tournament on. Tell us about the icebreaker first and foremost, and then we'll dig into some other stuff.
The icebreaker is actually hosted collectively between College Hockey Inc. and then the Hockey Commissioners Association.
Okay.
The tournament is, I believe this is the 27th playing of the icebreaker. It's an exempt tournament, so what that means is these games, they count towards, not standings, but towards your pairwise, their non-conference games, but they don't count towards your maximum. So all four schools playing in the tournament this year get to play 2 extra games this season, so that's a pretty valued aspect. And then the 4 schools come from 4 different conferences, and they just start the season off with the tournament, with the trophy on the line, and it's a fun way to start the college hockey season every year.
Mike, the beauty of this one is it's split. It's split between Denver and Colorado Springs. I know you were down at the Springs last night as we taped this one on Saturday, but Magnus Arena, great facility. Air Force Academy, and of course the Cadet Ice Arena, great facility. Just your thoughts on having the split format?
This is the first time that's ever happened, actually, the co-hosted tournament between the Air Force Academy and Denver. We wanted to give it a go. It's a little, there's some concerns in terms of tiebreakers and what happens if you have 4 teams that go 1-1 and so on. Now we lucked out this year. We've got the 2 teams that won yesterday are playing tonight, so we do have a true championship. But what we really have, I'd say 2 things, is it allows more schools, more institutions to host the tournament because it literally cuts the expenses in half.
Right.
So it allows some schools to be able to do it that perhaps couldn't do it in a solo hosted format. But more importantly, it also allows us to have 4 games that are going to have a really spectacular atmosphere, student section, large crowds, and the collegiate, the color that we expect to see at a college athletic event. Under the old format, you would always have that early game that doesn't involve the host school or the host community, and attendance, let's say at times, was light. So the atmosphere wasn't what we were looking for. This year, it certainly looks like both games tonight will be well attended. So we'll end up having 4 games, which is exactly what we want or 4 great games, well attended games, exciting games, which is what we're looking for in college athletics and college hockey.
And the unique format of bringing in a different team from every conference. So let me throw this one at you because we cover some independents.
Sure.
Is there a chance there's going to be an independent at some point in time, or is it always tied into a conference?
An independent either participating or hosting?
Yeah,
certainly.
either or.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that can definitely happen.
Okay, because there's a brand new facility down in Tempe, Arizona.
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. What is it, 7 days from opening or 14 days, something like that?
Even less than that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there on Wednesday, and they're actually going to be in there doing some stuff.
Okay,
so yeah, it's exciting.
Well, I just say that'd be a wonderful place to host an icebreaker.
I'll put in a good word. How about that?
Sounds good.
If my word stands for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Magnus Arena was electric last night. Obviously, the defending champions coming back playing in front of their home crowd for the first time, really.
Yep.
They had an exhibition. But this whole tournament is exciting from the standpoint that the players, the coaches, everybody want to participate, right? Because it's those extra games, as you mentioned already. It's competitive balance, if you will. I mean, we know how good Notre Dame is. We know the defending champions. Maine represented very well last night.
Yeah,
and,
sure
of course,
did.
Air Force is good, right?
Yeah, Air Force is always good. Even in years when maybe the expectations are lower, they figure out a way by the end of the year to be very good, which was last year was the case for Air Force. I think an added aspect to the tournament that's pretty exciting is generally the teams that participate aren't always teams that play each other. I don't know for sure when the last time Maine was out here in Colorado. I don't know for sure when the last time Notre Dame was out here, but it's certainly not every year. So it's an opportunity for fans, not only to start the year off with a bit of a tournament environment and a trophy that's on the line, but they're also seeing schools that they don't normally see.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked to the players on the Colorado teams anyway, and they were excited because either they have never played them, the two teams, or it's been a long time. So
that's right.
Anyway, we'll get into that, but I want to take one quick break. I want to come back and talk about College Hockey Inc. and what you guys do to improve the game of hockey at all levels.
Look forward to it, Scott.
I'll be right back.
Really, JR, you think you can still do this?
I'm focused.
You're way too old to hit that target from there.
I've been listening to everything you said. It's been running through my head, locked and loaded.
All right, still got it. Still got it.
Who's old now?
All right, folks, hockey fans, we are back with the Executive Director of College Hockey Inc., Mike Snee. Mike, we talked about the icebreaker, which is what brought you to Denver this time. Let's talk about College Hockey Inc., because so many people don't understand what you guys do, and I'm talking people that are in the know, supposedly.
Yeah.
So tell us, what does College Hockey Inc. do?
And it's not that surprising, actually, that there are people that don't know what we are. We're much more of a behind-the-scenes organization. By design. I think that's mostly by design, so that's not too surprising. There are really three things that we do, and first off, what we are, we're a three-person nonprofit, so we are relatively small. We try to leverage our schools and USA Hockey and the NHL and so on to maybe be a little louder than a three-person organization would normally be. But the three things that we do, and the main thing that we do, and the reason that we were created 12 years ago, was to serve as a resource to young aspiring players and everybody that influences them. So that's, of course, their parents, their teammates, their coaches, their youth hockey coaches, their junior hockey coaches, or high school hockey coaches, whoever it might be, the media, and just educate them on how good college hockey is. And now, here in a place like Denver, defending national champions, that might seem like an odd thing to have to say or to have to do, but there is still pockets of the hockey playing world that doesn't fully appreciate just how good college hockey is. Now, I will say that it's quickly drying up, those pockets, and most places certainly have an understanding of just how good college hockey is. No different than just how good college basketball is, college football is, and how those are two avenues to the professional levels of the sport. In fact, in those two sports, that is the avenue to the NFL or to the NBA. So that's the main thing that we do, is serve as a resource for those families. And in addition to that education piece, is also just being a resource for either eligibility or amateurism questions, because hockey is so global, European, Canadian, where they might not have as much awareness or just knowledge of those two parts of being eligible to play college hockey. So we're a free service, always a free service, work with those players and their families. That's one. The second piece is I guess in our office, we refer to ourselves as College Hockey's PR department. So we're made up of men's hockey is made up of 6 conferences. Only one is a multi-sport conference, and then we have a handful of independent schools. So those conferences aren't largely, they're not big staffs. Resources aren't plentiful. So we feel that where we can really help them is serve as that PR department, tell their stories, tell them collectively, maybe tell a Denver story alongside a Cornell story. Okay, so they're not part of the same conference, so they might not tell the other. Denver might not really share a lot about Cornell and vice versa, but we can do both. We look at ourselves as I guess, working on behalf of all 63 NCAA Division I men's programs. So that's the second thing that we do. And then the third thing, which is probably where we do get our most publicity, is our efforts to help try to grow college hockey, both men's and women's, and to find institutions that are interested in adding it. And when we started that initiative in partnership with the National Hockey League and the National Hockey League Players Association, Kevin Westgarth and Bill Daly, very good friends at the NHL that fund a lot of our pursuit of these schools. When we started this initiative, right out of the the gates, we had some success with Arizona State. Now they're about to open that building that we referenced earlier.
Right.
And a few other schools along the way have also added hockey. Augustana, Lindenwood, which just started to play last week and has started their season off with 3 very impressive games against two great opponents. And then other schools that we've been working with to either add hockey or even elevate their hockey from a Division II or Division III level to Division I, like you've seen in St. Paul with the University of St. Thomas. So that's the third thing that we're trying to do, is just have more institutions sponsor the sport and increase the footprint of NCAA hockey, men's and women's.
Really good. That's really good stuff. I want to ask you about the growth of hockey, because during the pandemic, a lot of people told me that, boy, get ready. This is going to be the death knell of college hockey. It's too expensive. This will be a reason schools can depart from it. Just the opposite. You just referenced 63. I think when the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken, when the pandemic hit, there were 60.
Yeah.
So teams are coming around, and how much do you guys, or do you at all, get involved with trying to bring independents into a conference and trying to level conferences? I mean, we look at Atlantic right now, and there's obviously teams that fit geographically, but I mean, how many teams can you have in the Atlantic Conference?
Yeah.
So is that something you guys get involved in or have any say in, or do you kind of avoid that part of it?
That's a good question. Loaded question. There's probably a lot of questions in that question. One, I'll start with this: is you're right about the pandemic, and I think some people's thoughts about the apocalypse that would come from that for maybe a lot of college athletics and hockey. And you saw Robert Morris dropped for a brief moment. The Alaska schools had a bit of a battle, and then Alabama Huntsville is still out there, I guess, in limbo. Now, fortunately, Derek Schooley and everybody at Robert Morris brought that back. Did a great job bringing that back. Great news. Probably going to be brought back even better than it was, and it was in really good shape.
Yeah.
The Alaska schools are doing their thing. Starting, I mean, Anchorage beating Western Michigan, Alaska Fairbanks beat St. Thomas yesterday. So, and I know Alaska was back last year, and Anchorage came back this year. And then hopefully things can get figured out down in Huntsville. So part of the initiative is, let's add Arizona State, let's add Augustana, let's make that happen, but not have it be at the expense of losing schools.
Right.
Okay. We don't want this to be a one step forward, one step back type of proposition. But when it comes to the conference piece, I would say that we mostly stay out of that. Let the conferences figure out their thing. I think it is somewhat standard practice, perhaps, maybe there's a better way to say it, that schools, when they come in, they spend some time as an independent. Arizona State's been doing that. Lindenwood's going to do that. Mm-hmm. Augustana and St. Thomas both came in with membership in hand. But so I guess it can work both ways, but it doesn't have to work necessarily one way or the other. Both can work. And then our view of what our role is let's get the school to just see the value of adding hockey, men's and women's, what it can bring to the campus, what it can bring to their alumni, how it can add value for the students, for the campus in general, for the school in general, and then other stuff would need to sort itself out, such as conference membership.
Well, let me tell you, me as a media guy, and I talk to coaches obviously a lot, and one of the things that I worry about as an independent is, and I saw this with Arizona State last year, is they had a pretty solid team, but about late January they played Minnesota State. And that kind of eliminated them in the pairwise. They had no way to make up pairwise points the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So I was curious as to how that affects a student athlete when they know that late January their season might be over as far as tournaments go. And Coach Powers did a great job of bringing his guys around and got them involved. And I talked to the Alaska coaches, and they said the same thing. This is what we're going to do. Does that worry you at all as an advocate for players too, that it might be hard down the road to get guys to go places when there's no opportunity for a conference tournament? Because you look at CC, for an example, last year, they very nearly got North Dakota at the end of the year and would have gotten themselves to the Frozen Face-Off.
Yeah.
So that conference tournament does mean a lot.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, well, not just the conference tournament, but conference membership
Right.
means a lot. There's a tremendous value to it. Being independent has its challenges. Top of the list is your schedule in general, and then certainly your late season schedule, when it's harder to get games, and it's very hard to get home games.
All right.
Now we have a fair number of independents, so in essence, if you have a healthy number of independents, that somewhat solves that problem because they're all in the same boat, so they can just schedule each other at the end of the season. Some aspect of that is easier said than done, but you know, and if you're a solo independent, then it's really just you facing those challenges. If you have a few other independent brothers, I suppose it can make that a little easier. I would say long term, for most schools, being in a conference outweighs not being in a conference.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a new school just coming in, depending on certain circumstances, geographic circumstances, whatever it might be, being in a conference right away might be unrealistic as well. So there needs to be a balance found with that. But what you bring up is very valid, that end of the season schedule can be a challenge. And I can't cite it with 100% accuracy, but when Arizona State made the tournament, was that 18, maybe 19? I mean, the gap between when they played their last game,
a month.
I mean, it was like college football bowl season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you play like late November and then you kick off on January 1st. So they had that challenge, but you know, they certainly responded to it. I think they lost their first game, but they played really well in that first game.
Yeah,
it was a well played
game, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing here is perfect, and you know, nothing has all the checks in the plus column and no checks in the negative column.
Right.
But that is part of what we have to work through as we try to continue to grow college hockey.
All right, one more quick break, and we'll come right back with the final segment, which I'm going to let you tell people how they get a hold of you and how you can build them a plan if you can do that.
Works for me.
All right, welcome back in, college hockey fans. I still got Mike Snee with me, the Executive Director of College Hockey Inc., right here at Magnus Arena as we talk about not only the icebreaker, but about what College Hockey Inc. does. Final segment for you, Mike, and thanks for spending some time with us. I want to ask you, if I'm a college somewhere in the United States and I would like to contemplate starting a hockey program, and I reach out to you, what's the process? How does it all work?
Sure. Well, contact us regardless. If you have any level of interest, contact us.
Okay.
Email me, call me. All that information's on our website. We'll talk through what it seems to look like, success, what success looks like, or what it can look like. I guess, in a nutshell, what we try to do with institutions that are interested is not have them say, you know, yes, we're going to do it, or no, we're not going to do it. That's a pretty easy answer, and usually the answer is no. Is let's find out what it would take if you wanted to add hockey. And our goal is always to go with both men's and women's. Some schools we worked with have only wanted men's, and we've worked with a couple schools that have only wanted women's, but we like to start off with both. And then do a study that will look at the current situation at the university. Do they have access to any kind of a facility, practice facility, competition facility? How are they currently staffed? How is their current situation with Title IX? What other sports do they not have? What's the local hockey community like? All sorts of factors. And then I would say the study doesn't come back with a conclusion, like you should or you shouldn't.
Right.
The study simply comes back with a list of priorities and requirements. You know, if you don't have an arena, you need to build an arena. That's a fact. Okay. And if you need to build an arena, there's a price tag to it, and it's not inexpensive. So the study will just simply say this is what you need to do as an institution if you want to add ice hockey to your list of sports that you sponsor. So if an institution is sincerely interested in wanting to find out what that is, we're very fortunate that the NHL and the NHLPA will pay for a feasibility study if it's requested formally by the university, which could mean the president, provost, the athletics director, you know, somebody officially representing the university. Then we would do a feasibility study for that school.
Well said. I mean, I think that's it in a nutshell. I do want to ask you about arena size, because that's really changed over the years. Right now, I mean, CC's got a 3,200, almost 3,300, and they sell it out every night. Yeah, it's a beautiful facility.
Perfect.
Arizona State coming in with a bigger university and about 4,700 seats, something like that. Yeah. People are talking down at the University of Arizona of maybe 3,500 seats there. Is that about comfortable right now for college hockey, 35 to 5,000?
It's a tough question to answer because there's variables to that based
Yeah.
on each particular school or their market. I think in general, athletic facilities are getting smaller, with maybe the exception of NFL stadiums.
Yeah.
But newer NHL arenas, newer NBA arenas, certainly newer MLB ballparks. I think I saw that Oakland is proposing a 28,000 seat stadium for the A's.
Yeah.
So, there's a pretty cliche I like to use that you don't build a church for Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
You probably don't build your college hockey arena for your biggest rival on a February weekend.
Right.
You want that intimate atmosphere, and it's not a bad thing to sometimes say we're sold out. So it does feel like that 2,500, 3,000 to 5,000 facility size is the sweet spot, and then it just depends upon individual or circumstances specific to that school.
Mike, thanks for spending some time. It's a great tournament so far. Wish I could be here tonight to see the championship, but I got to go south and see what's going on in the spring. So crown a good champion tonight, okay?
We will, and we appreciate all that you do for college hockey, Scott.
Thank you, Mike.